Ken Cook's fingers froze over the keyboard mid-word. He had glanced down at his phone out of habit when it vibrated on his desk. He almost never picked it up, but he saw his own face staring back at him on the screen. His cheeks were chubbier and his eyes full of far more joy, probably due to the tickles young Justine Cook was giving him from the blurry background. He didn't have any other pictures to choose for her contact photo. Most of his mother's photos also contained his father, Martin Crooks. He didn't want to use any of those photos to keep it more obvious which of his parents was calling. Sometimes he didn't wear his glasses and couldn't read the screen well enough to differentiate the three-letter names saved in his phone. "Hey Mom, what's up? I only have a couple minutes."
"Oh, sorry, are you working?"
Justine asked. "Yeah, it's Tuesday afternoon. Sorry, I don't mean to be in..."
I know, I only need a second. I'm cleaning out the deep freeze and wondered if you need any beef. Your dad and I bought a quarter of a cow and we're not going through it as fast as we expected. I don't want it to go bad."
"In the freezer?" asked Ken.
"It could get freezer burnt."
Ken rested his temple on his thumb. "Well, I would take some if I had any time to drive down from St. Paul. I'm not sure how I'd make that work. Hey, but I was thinking about coming down for the 4th. Could I grab it then?" Justine's voice lowered.
"No, sorry, that's too long. I need it gone by tomorrow."
"Why?"
"I told you, because I'm emptying the deep freeze."
Ken sighed. "Well, could you empty the deep freeze next week instead? Actually, you know what? How about you just see if a neighbor wants it or something? I don't want you to go out of your way." Justine was quiet for a few seconds.
"Okay, I'll ask around. Think Dana would want any?"
"She might, but Mom, she's probably busy too. I don't think she's going to be able to drive out from Chicago to pick up some beef." Sounding hurt, Justine said,
"Okay. Well, I'll let you go. I know you're busy."
Ken lifted his head. "Actually, hang on. Is Dad there? I've texted him a couple times, but he's not answering. I just had a question about..."
"He's out."
Justine's voice sounded clownish now. Ken thought she might have been holding back a burp when she interrupted him. He said, "Okay, well, could you ask him to text me when he gets home?" Justine stayed quiet. Or at least, she didn't say anything. Ken could hear her making sounds away from the phone like she was clearing her throat. She returned abruptly and said,
"I'll do that. So you're sure you want me to give this beef to someone else?"
"Yeah, go ahead. Thanks, though."
"Of course. Talk to you later."
"Talk to you later, Mom. Bye." Ken set his phone down. A blurry shape moved in his doorway. He spun his chair toward it. When the shape centered in the frames of his glasses, he saw it was his coworker, Isla. "Hey, you done?" she asked. He said, "Yeah, sorry. Hope you weren't waiting there long. That was my mom. She wanted to know if I wanted to hop down to Iowa to pick up some beef she doesn't want." "Oof. Well, got a second to go over our notes before the meeting?" Ken gestured to the chair in the corner of his office. "Sure." As Isla pored over the bullet points on her iPad aloud, Ken couldn't shake the perturbation left over from the phone call with his mother. He'd expected bad news. The mundanity of the call unsettled him. "Could you double-check that part?" asked Isla. Which part specifically?" asked Ken. Isla locked her iPad and gave him a stern look. "It's not like you to be distracted. Sure that call was just about beef?" Ken took off his glasses and rubbed his eyes. "Yes, sorry. Jeez. Yeah, just beef." He chuckled to himself and slid his glasses back on. After Isla left, Ken picked his phone back up. He tapped on the professional headshot of a half-smiling woman. His phone only rang once before she picked up. "Dana?"
"Hey, what's up?"
"Hey, I'm not sure, I guess. I just have a weird feeling after talking to Mom on the phone. Has she called you yet?" Dana lowered her phone to check her notifications.
"Nope."
"Huh. Okay, well, She said she's cleaning out the deep freeze and wanted me to come get some beef, like, right away. I thought she might have tried you next.
She wanted you to drive down to Huxley for beef?
Asked Dana. Ken was encouraged to hear some humor in her voice. Yup. I asked if I could get it on the 4th, but I sensed some tension, so I told her to give it to somebody else. But hey, that's not actually what's bugging me. Have you heard from Dad recently?
Like, how recently? I think I talked to him like a month ago. I don't know. Maybe longer. God, I should call them more often.
Don't beat yourself up. It's probably been that long for me, too. Well, I've been texting him about this rattling noise my car started making, and I tried calling him when I didn't hear back, but he didn't pick up. It's been like 2 days.
That's weird. He's usually quick to get back to me. Did you piss him off?
No. Ken surprised himself by laughing. You know what I'm saying, though? I'd understand if you forgot to text me back once, but...
Did you ask Mom? Maybe he got a new phone or something.
She said he was out.
What, you don't believe her?
Honestly, no, not really. There was something weird about her on the phone. I just blew off a coworker because I couldn't keep my thoughts from wandering. I don't know. She said she'll remind Dad to text me when he gets back.
Well, I'd stop worrying about it for now. I'm sure you'll hear from him soon.
Yeah, I guess. Well, hey, while I've got you, I mentioned to Mom going down there for the 4th. She didn't really say anything, but what if we both went home? It's been a while. Ken could practically hear Dana's eyes rolling.
Yeah, I know. I just don't know if I can swing it right now. I could probably make it, but I don't know if Nate could get away.
Leave him behind then. Come on, Dana, I haven't seen you in forever.
I know. You'd love it if Nate couldn't come, wouldn't you?
Nate's fine. This time the eye roll made it into her voice.
Uh-huh. Well, listen. How about if neither of us hears from Dad by the 4th, we use the holiday as an excuse to go check things out?
Deal.
Okay, I'll see if Nate can get some time off.
Oh, well, don't pull him away if he's too busy.
See, I knew it.
Ken laughed. I'm just messing with you, Dana. All right, I'll let you know if I hear anything. Love you.
Sounds good. Love you too.
A week passed before Ken noticed. It took Isla asking if he had any plans for the 4th to remind him to follow up on the plan he'd proposed to Dana. He texted her that afternoon. Know if you and Nate can get away for the 4th yet? Dana promptly replied, I'll go. Nate can't make it. I'll let Mom know. Thanks, sis. He checked his calendar to make sure there weren't any meetings he was forgetting, then called Justine. She picked up after 3 rings. Ken thought he got her voicemail at first. Mom, you there?
Hi, Ken. Is everything okay?
Yeah, Mom. Everything okay there? Justine fluttered her lips.
Oh, sure. Business as usual. Did Dad help you with what you needed?
Ken's eyebrows almost touched. No, I still haven't heard anything from him.
That's so strange. He told me he talked to you.
A creeping chill crawled under Ken's hair. Really?
Mm-hmm. I don't know why he'd lie about it.
Me either. Well, I can talk to him this weekend, I guess.
What's this weekend?
Asked Justine, sounding breathless like he'd startled her. Ken said, The 4th of July? Dana and I are both able to come out and see you guys. Is that okay?
Oh, Ken, I don't know. I really don't have the house ready for guests. If I had more time, I could...
Mom, we're not guests, we're your kids. You don't have to get the house ready. Justine paused for a moment.
Well, I don't have any food or...
We can get the food. We can even stay in an Airbnb. You won't have to do a thing. Come on, don't tell me a couple of retirees are too busy to see their kids on a holiday weekend.
No, it's not that. Well, okay. If you'll grill the brats, you can come. Tell Dana to bring drinks or work that out amongst yourselves. Is she bringing that boyfriend of hers? Is this all to surprise us with an engagement finally?
The creeping chill turned to frost when his mother mentioned the grill. His dad always manned the grill. Ken couldn't imagine why she would ask him to do it instead, unless something was wrong. He wanted to ask, but since he would be going down there in a couple of days anyway, he decided to avoid creating tension. He replied, Nate can't come, just Dana.
Well, that's a pity. That boy makes a tasty potato salad. Oh, that corn dip he made last time was to die for, too.
Don't worry, we'll get all the standard fixins at Fairway.
All right, Ken. I'll see what I can throw together soon. See you in a couple days?
See you in a couple days, Mom. I'll start looking for somewhere we can stay. He expected her to cave on letting him and Dana stay at the house at that point, but she said,
Okay. Have a good day, Ken.
She hung up before he could reply. What's she in such a hurry to do? Ken thought. That phone call didn't leave him feeling as unsettled as the previous one, but the chill still had fingers in his hair. There was the lie, either from Justine or Martin, he couldn't be sure, about Martin talking to him. Then there was Justine's reluctance to let them stay at the house and the request for him to grill. When he dissected the call, he realized he should have been far more disturbed than he was. What had tricked him? His mother's tone? She'd sounded more collected this time. Maybe he'd been expecting the call to go strangely, so when it did, it didn't upset him. So what did it mean? Was his dad sick and too proud to say anything to his children? If he told Justine not to say anything, she wouldn't. They shared an unbreakable bond of trust. Ken realized that meant he likely would not have lied to Justine about talking to him either, which meant she had lied about that on the phone. But if his dad was just sick, then why couldn't he text? Ken decided not to dwell on what that suggested any longer. In a couple of days, he would know. He would deal with whatever he and Dana uncovered when the time came. I'm not ready for this, said Dana, as Ken turned his car onto their childhood street. He'd picked her up at the Des Moines airport. Dana's vision was just as bad as his, and even with her glasses, she hated driving long distances. They had discussed seemingly everything except their parents over the 45-minute drive to Huxley. I am, said Ken. I keep trying to convince myself that everything's fine and I'm the one being weird, but I just can't do it. If I see Dad, or if I don't, I'll know if I'm being crazy or not. It's just... Mom, said Dana. Yeah, I get it. You're probably really hoping Dad's there. Dana snorted. Don't make it a selfish thing. I wouldn't even be here if I wasn't as concerned as you, okay? Hey, look, his truck's in the driveway. Ken pointed up the road at a classic red Chevy 5 houses ahead. Guess that means she can't say he's out this time, Dana said. Ken pulled up alongside the curb and stopped. As he unbuckled, he glanced back at the coolers and grocery bags in the back. I'll come back for this stuff. Let's go say hi first. Dana sighed. Yep, here we go, and opened her door. Justine answered the door in a casual blue dress with her hair done and makeup on, a far cry from the disheveled mess Ken expected to see. She'd put on red lipstick. Dana recognized the effort to match the 4th of July theme. Her smile seemed forced at first, but after a few seconds it stretched into a genuine smile as wide and yellow as an ear of corn. And the mask slips, thought Ken. Justine shook her head slightly, bouncing her hair. Oh, Ken, I'm so sorry if I sounded rude on the phone. I'm really glad you're here. She pulled him in for a tight hug long enough for Dana to text Nate that she'd made it there safe. Ken said, hang on a sec, and pulled away. I need to bring the food and stuff in before it all cooks or melts. Left standing in front of Justine, Dana said, You should have just saved that beef for grilling today. What'd you end up doing with it? How do you know about the beef? Asked Justine, her corncob smile now hidden behind her red lips again. Ken told me. Justine tilted her head slightly away. Dana laughed. No, not the side eye. He mentioned it when he called about coming here. He figured you offered it to me next. Oh, well, he told me you'd probably turn it down. Yeah, why waste the time calling, huh? Dana winced at the venom in her own voice. Justine had long ago built an immunity to it, though. You two talk a lot? She asked, leading Dana inside. Dana looked back at Ken grabbing grocery bags out of his back seat. She opened her mouth, but Ken shook his head, then nodded toward the open door. Off and on, Dana replied, stepping into the entryway. The house still smelled like it had when she was a little girl sliding down the basement stairs banister. The stairwell looked as tall as a clock tower to her back then. The vaulted ceiling above it still seemed high to her now. She spotted 2 small empty hooks nailed into the wall a couple of feet below the ceiling. "What are you guys putting up there?" she asked. "Over the stairs?" asked Justine as if she didn't notice Dana's pointed finger. "Nothing. Your dad was going to put a big mirror I found at a garage sale up, but it was too heavy." "He has a ladder that tall?" "Well, he got the hooks up there, didn't he?" Dana glanced back to scowl at Ken, but he'd disappeared. She spotted him peering into the windows of Martin's Chevy. "So where is Dad?" Dana asked, silently congratulating herself on her Oscar-worthy nonchalance. "He's just out. He'll be back." Dana pointed her voice out the front door and projected, "Oh, really? Out where?" Ken met her eyes and his jaw jutted forward. His fingers tightened as he marched toward the house. From the kitchen, where she was noisily opening and shutting drawers, Justine answered, "Oh, he just went to grab a few things from the—" Ken stepped around Dana and cut in. "Then what's his truck doing in the driveway?" Looking dazed, clenching a mandolin slicer, Justine said, "He doesn't drive anymore." "Why not?" demanded Dana. "Did you take his phone too?" asked Ken. Justine blinked, then opened the refrigerator and started rooting in the vegetable drawer. "His old buddies come and pick him up. I'm not keeping him on a leash." "I thought you said he went to pick some things up. Where's he going with his buddies in the middle of the day? Didn't you tell him we were coming?" asked Ken. Justine snapped, "Why don't you drop it and go get the grill going?" She emerged clutching a bag of carrots and staring him down. "Mom, what's really going on?" Ken asked. "I don't want to talk about it," said Justine. "Ken, just go," said Dana. "Mom, I'll help you slice those." Ken brushed his hand dismissively and left. Justine handed Dana a peeler and said, "Thank you, but we're not talking about your dad." Dana replied, "Fine, Mom, but really, when do you think he'll be back, realistically?" "I don't know," Justine snapped. Her eyes, the same rich blue as the eyeliner she wore, bulged before a sour look pinched her face together and she lowered her head. Dana suffered her punishment of silence until a rising tide of guilt threatened to drown her. She said, "I'm sorry, I won't keep pushing. I'll just say, if there's something you want to tell us, you can. We're grown-ups now, we can handle it." I know, whispered Justine. She dabbed one finger under her eyes and said, "When your brother comes back in, I'll tell you what's been going on." Dana said, "Thank you," and set down the carrot peeler to discreetly text Ken to hurry back inside. He returned before Dana finished peeling her second carrot. He said, "Hey, sorry, Mom. I didn't mean to attack you." He walked past them and stood on the other side of the kitchen island. "Well," Justine started, not looking up from her cutting board. "A few weeks ago, one of your dad's war buddies came back to town. He moved in to take care of his parents, and he asked your dad to go out for a drink, as one does. Martin said they had a nice time, and that was that. Well, the next day, this same friend called him and asked if he wanted to get lunch at Darby's. They did, and lunch included a few beers. Martin didn't get back until after dinner." Justine took a peeled carrot off the counter in front of Dana. "Keep them coming." "Well, over the next few days, their little duo turned into a small group. They go out just about every day, golfing, fishing, playing cards, but always drinking too. I think your dad enjoys the company more than the booze, but..." She shrugged. "It's hard to say." "Yeah, I didn't really think Dad drank," said Ken. "Oh," Justine chuckled. "He didn't. For years. He got sober when Dana was born and mostly stayed that way until now. So that's why I can't tell you when he'll be back. He said he was going out for lunch and his buddies picked him up. I won't let him drive himself when he hangs out with that crew. It's like he's in his 20s again. You two never saw this side of him." What if we went and got him? Suggested Ken. Dana asked, Do you know where they went this time? Justine replied, No, leave him be. Maybe if he misses you today, it'll make him reconsider his choices in the future. Dana gave Ken a look that mirrored his own discomfort. Ken asked, Who's the war buddy that came back? Do you remember his name? Justine stopped chopping and looked toward the ceiling to think. It was something with a G, I think. Greg, Gary, something like that. Not somebody you knew? Asked Ken. He pulled out his phone and said, Sorry, it's work. He sent a short text, then shoved his phone back in his pocket. Dana's phone vibrated. She glanced at Ken before discreetly checking it. Something's still not right. Dad wouldn't skip out on us. She glanced up at her brother and subtly nodded in agreement. Ken said, Sorry, that's really sad to hear, Mom. I wish you would have said something. You know I would have come down sooner if I knew what was going on. I tried, whispered Justine. No, that's what I'm saying. You shouldn't have made up the beef thing and just told me what was really... I didn't make up the beef thing. I really was cleaning out the freezer. You know what? I'd like to talk about something else. I don't want to think about Martin, okay? I want to have a nice time with you too. Yeah, of course, said Ken, sending a knowing look toward Dana. I noticed you got a new knife set. He walked around the island to examine a spotless red KitchenAid knife block. Oh, you'll never believe where I found that, oohed Justine. When she turned her back, Dana slipped out of the kitchen and disappeared around the corner. She entered the hallway and turned toward her parents' bedroom to see if she could uncover any clues that might lead to the truth about her father. The room seemed orderly. Justine had made countless adjustments and changes to it in the years since Dana had moved out, so she couldn't say for sure if everything was in the right place. Her dad's end table certainly didn't look like it belonged to a sloppy drunk. His watches were all perfectly spaced along their stand, a spotless coaster lay in front of 3 neatly placed pill containers, and there was a Western novel bookmarked roughly halfway through beside them. She dropped to one knee and lowered herself enough to peer under the bed. Rolling plastic containers of shoes and clothes filled all the space below the bed frame. Everything looked perfect. The room was cleaned and organized at a level only a couple of conservative retirees could maintain. It looked so clean, Dana suddenly grew self-conscious about a smudge on her glasses. She took them off to clean the lens with her shirt. In her upper peripheral vision, she detected motion in the dark master bathroom. She looked up, but the bathroom was a blur. She could make out her own hazy reflection in the mirror above the sink and laughed to herself. She raised her glasses halfway to her face and froze. A dark shape that filled most of the right side of the mirror shifted slightly. "Dad?" she asked, pressing her glasses on. She blinked, then concentrated on the mirror. The only light in the bathroom was the reflection of the bedroom, making details impossible to discern from her distance. She took a few steps closer, then gasped and shrunk back. The shape was her father's reflection, likely, she thought, standing in front of the toilet. Embarrassed, she stepped out of sight. But after nearly a minute of complete silence, she peered back into the bathroom. The mirror was empty of all but herself, so she stepped a little closer to see further into the bathroom. It was empty. She stepped inside and flipped on the light. She didn't know why. It would have been impossible for her father to have hidden anywhere in the small room. Out of habit, she checked her hair in the mirror. She ran her fingers through a tangled cluster by her ear and noticed someone moving in the reflection behind her. She shifted her focus to them, expecting to see Justine or Ken coming to check on her. But illuminated clearly in the light from the window, she again saw her father. "Dad?" She whipped around, fingers still in her hair. He was no longer standing where she could see him. She darted out to where she could see the entire bedroom but still couldn't find him. She hurried into the hallway. He wasn't there either. Justine stopped talking mid-sentence and called, "Dana?" "Yeah?" Dana called back, trying to sound calm. What are you doing? I had to pee. Oh, well, why don't you come out here and join us again? I was just telling Ken I finally got rid of all our old towels and rags and got these cute ones at Target. They all match finally. Yeah, be right there, Dana replied. Before going back to the kitchen, she texted Ken, "Meet me by the grill." Then she called into the kitchen. "I'm going to go check on the grill real quick. Tell me about the towels after." On her way out the rear sliding door, she heard Ken say, "It's probably ready. I'll go put the brats on." Dana watched him come out with the plate of raw brats balanced in one hand and hurry toward her. "Look busy," he said. "Oh my God, she's watching us," Dana whispered. Ken said, "If you can remember what normal feels like, act like we're having a normal conversation." "Okay, but brace yourself. I'm pretty sure Dad's actually here. I thought I just saw him." Ken almost dropped a brat. "What? Where?" "Hey, act normal, remember?" "In their bedroom. First I thought I saw him in the bathroom, but then I saw him standing behind me in the mirror." "Wait, I'm confused," said Ken. "Yeah, me too," said Dana. "When I looked for him, I couldn't find him, but I'm pretty sure... No, I definitely saw him." "You had your glasses on?" Ken asked. "I just wiped them clean, yes," Dana sighed. Ken pushed the brats around on the grill until they were all equidistant. He asked, "Why would Mom lie about him being gone?" Dana said, "Better question is, why is he hiding from us?" Ken adjusted the knobs on the front of the grill. "I'll try to get a look around soon. Don't say anything to Mom yet." Dana said, "I know." "Seriously, Dana, I know she gets under your skin. Just go along with it until..." "You two almost done out there?" Justine interrupted from behind the screen door. "Coming," Ken replied. He turned slightly toward Dana, away from the house, to make sure Justine couldn't read his lips. "Let me poke around. I'll make up some excuse and you keep Mom busy so I can snoop. Just promise me you won't poke the bear, please." Dana snorted and poked him in the chest as she passed him on her way back to the house. Ken didn't need an excuse after all. After he scraped the brats off the grill, he walked inside. He heard Justine ask his sister, "Is that how you hold a kitchen knife? Didn't I teach you the right way?" He set the brats on the dining room table and snuck into the hallway. He started in the master bedroom. He opened the closet and peeked under the bed. Then he moved into the master bathroom. He flipped on the light, checked in the cupboard, and was about to turn the light back off when he caught motion in the mirror. He turned toward the bedroom, already preparing an excuse for why he hadn't used the guest bathroom off the hallway. But it wasn't Justine who caught him. There wasn't anyone at all. He tiptoed back into the bedroom to try to catch whoever had peered in at him, but the hallway was empty too. Sparing a glance into the kitchen to make sure the women were still occupied, he snuck toward the guest bathroom. He kept his focus on the large mirror above the sink as he entered. He didn't see anyone, but it was hard to look away. He noticed an incredibly subtle waving of the shower curtain that could have been caused by his entering the small bathroom, but he felt obligated to check behind it anyway. He pinched the left side and drew it back slowly so as not to create too much noise, and only opened it as far as necessary to see the empty shower behind it. He released his breath and turned back around. His eyes caught the single eye of another man in the mirror's reflection. Half his body was hidden behind the half-opened shower curtain. The reflection unmistakably belonged to his father, and he was crying. With a shout, Ken spun and tore the curtain open, exposing the whole empty shower. He looked at the reflection again. He no longer saw his father there, but he remained convinced of what he'd seen before. He stormed into the kitchen. "Mom, where's Dad? Tell me the truth." "What?" said Justine. Dana set her knife aside and said, "Hey, Ken, calm down." "No, I can't calm down. I just saw Dad in the mirror crying in the shower." Justine said, "That doesn't make any sense. You must have seen a shadow or something." "Dana saw him earlier too." Justine gave Dana an astonished look. What? When? I bet he snuck in so we wouldn't smell the whiskey on him. That's enough, Mom, Dana said. She pivoted so she was standing closer to Ken's side. I saw him in the mirror too. Only in the mirror. It was like he was trying to hide from me. Same here, said Ken. Justine's wrinkles deepened. She tipped her head forward slightly, casting shadows over her eyes, and said, You two forced your way here for the 4th of July and come in my house and accuse me of... Mom, we haven't accused you of anything, said Dana. Ken said, except lying. What's really going on with Dad? Justine hid her face and whispered, He's just out. Dana looked at Ken and muttered, Screw it. Then she turned completely around and flew out of the kitchen, shouting, Dad? Dad! She went down the hallway, shouting into every room. Ken watched his mother dab at her eyes with the hand towel hanging from the oven. Then he went to the top of the stairs and shouted down, Dad? Dana saw him there and hurried to his side. Come on, the basement's the only place we haven't checked. Behind them, Justine cried, He's not down there. They ignored her. They went down the first 7 stairs, turned on the landing, and continued down the last 6 into the finished half of the basement. Through a doorway, they entered the lounge, a 10 by 15 room with a loveseat across from a small fireplace with a TV mounted above it. There wasn't anywhere to hide, and nothing looked out of place. They passed through the lounge, through the next doorway, which led into the unfinished laundry room. Again, everything appeared normal. Beyond the laundry room was another doorway that led to the largest room in the whole house. Martin had set up half of the unfinished room as his indoor workshop, and the other half was filled floor to ceiling with storage bins. Dad? Ken asked as he walked into the dim space, lit only by green-tinted light coming through the egress window. The green hue was from a one-way reflective vinyl coating their father had put over the egress window to prevent someone snooping around outside from seeing into the basement. The downside to the vinyl was the way it choked the already minimal light that came through the window. What's that? Dana asked, pointing to a large circular object lying on the workbench. It was about 4 inches thick and wide enough to jut off the edge. Ken approached the workbench and leaned over it. It's a broken mirror. All the shards are... He flipped on the overhead lamp. Light bounced off of dozens of reflective shards and momentarily blinded him. He winced, squeezed his eyes shut, and held them closed as he turned away. He felt Dana step beside him. Maybe it's the mirror Dad was going to hang over the stairs. Remember, Mom said it was... Ken, is that blood? Ken opened his eyes, allowing them to adjust as he slowly turned his head. He first scanned over the glass still in the mirror's frame. Some shards had been replaced there with masking tape. Whether or not they were in the correct place was impossible to tell yet. He had to glance at Dana to realize she was looking at shards lying on the workbench. One of her hands hovered over them like she wanted to touch one but couldn't find the courage. Don't, he said. They're probably sharp. I bet Mom or Dad cut themselves on one. No, I don't think so, Dana whispered. She sounded like she might cry. She reached up and pointed the overhead lamp directly toward the glass shards laid out before her. Most of them were coated in a thin layer of dried blood. Some looked smeared, like someone had tried to clean them but failed to remove it all. What the hell is this? Ken whispered. Why is it all mirrors, Ken? Dad's showing up in the bathrooms, and now this? I don't know, but we're gonna find out. Mom? Mom! Ken stormed out of the room, completing the loop back to the stairs. Dana followed. They found Justine on the landing, her knees pressing into the hardwood, sobbing into her hands. Ken went up and lifted her to her feet, but Dana stayed put at the bottom of the stairs and asked, What happened with the mirror, Mom? Justine hugged Ken and turned her head toward Dana. She bit her lower lip before saying, I asked if he needed any help hanging it. He said there wasn't anything I could do. He was too high up for me to reach. I wasn't even sure if I wanted the mirror up there. I just didn't know where else to put it. It was such a steal. I never should have brought it home, though. I should have known it would be too heavy. She stifled another sob. So, he fell off the ladder? Asked Ken. Justine stepped back but kept her hands on his shoulders. It was like it pushed him. She gave him a gentle push, then lowered her arms to her sides. I know that sounds crazy. I know he just slipped. He was holding it in both hands, like this. She held her hands out like she was gripping a steering wheel. And his shoe slipped a little bit. He fell straight back and almost landed on me. Dana whimpered. Oh my God, Mom. The worst part was his face. I could see it reflected in the mirror before it fell on top of him. He's never looked so scared in all the time I've known him. I could barely recognize him, even now when I picture it, because I can't help it. The face I see in my memory is different, more like him. And I know I said that was the worst part already, but even worse is knowing that that was the last thing he saw, his own terrified face. No one should have to look at themselves as they die. No one. She collapsed back toward Ken, and he caught her, letting her sob into his shoulder. Dana asked, Did you call an ambulance? Did you call the police? What did you do? There was nothing I could do, Justine cried into Ken's shirt. Okay, but afterward, what happened? Ken choked down a lump in his throat. What happened to him? Where'd he go? He's... Mom? He's in the mirrors. Ken turned to Dana, suddenly angry. She's just playing off of what we said earlier. He shoved Justine off his chest and held her shoulders as he demanded, What did you do with his body, Mom? Where is it? She looked down. It's in the deep freeze. Ken let go of her and ran up the stairs. Dana called after him, Hold on, Ken, you might not want to see... But he was already gone. She ran up the stairs after him and saw through the kitchen the door to the garage wide open. She went to it and saw the freezer's light casting her brother's shadow against the far wall. The shadow was still, but for a slight tremble in its shoulders. Dana's breath caught in her throat. She coughed, then thought she might vomit. Hold it together. She stepped through the doorway. Ken slammed the freezer shut and wiped his face against his shoulder. His eyes fell back to the freezer's lid, and he refused to look up. Dana stepped beside him and gave him a gentle nudge backward. His forearms tightened, and he refused to budge. He said, No, I'm not going to let you see him. He's really in there? Dana asked. Ken nodded. Dana spun around and closed the door, keeping a firm grip on the doorknob. She opened her mouth to speak, but choked again. She squeezed her eyes and fists closed tightly for 3 seconds, then opened them and asked, What are we going to do? Ken's mouth clicked open, then shut. Ken, come on, what are we going to do about Mom? She's obviously lost it. Ken muttered, You saw him in the mirrors too. I thought, wait, like his ghost? Okay, yes, I thought I saw him in the mirror for a second, but everybody sees stuff out of the corner of their eye. It's somehow less concerning than finding his body in her deep freezer. Why didn't she call an ambulance for him? Think about how heavy... Stop, I don't want to think about it. The doorknob tried to turn in Dana's fist as Justine attempted to open the door. Dana locked it in place with both hands around the knob. Justine pleaded, Let me in, I want to talk. Dana said, Ken and I need to talk first. We're taking over, Mom. I'm sure it was all just an accident, but we have to... This has to be handled correctly. I think she walked away, said Ken. Dana listened, then said, We probably shouldn't leave her in there alone. Muffled deep in the house, Justine bellowed,
"He's still here. He's trapped in the mirrors. I have to get him out and put him back."
Dana shouted, "That's insane, Mom. Can you hear yourself?" Justine screamed back,
"You both saw him. You know I'm telling the truth."
Dana melted into tears and poured away from the door, sobbing. Ken caught her shoulders and tried to stand her up, but she was locked, balled up in pain. "She's insane, Ken. She's insane." Hey, Ken replied, kneeling to her level. "I'm sorry I doubted you, okay? Obviously she's falling apart. It probably just wore off on me. You know how edgy I was even on the way here. I'm sorry. I'm on your team now, okay?" "But you seemed so sure you saw him," Dana cried. "I felt sure, but come on, Dana, that's so crazy. I think we have a pretty rational explanation here." The door squealed open. They turned their heads to see Justine standing in the doorway, her features seeming hollow. She said, "Don't touch him," and flicked the light off before slamming the door shut. They heard the lock click. Dana was closer to the door and got there first. The knob wouldn't turn. "Just hit the garage door button," Ken said. Directly behind the door, Justine screamed,
"You can't take us apart. If you call the police, I'll throw myself over the banister. I'll land on my head and live in the mirrors with Martin."
Ken nodded at Dana to push the button.
"No!"
Justine screamed when she heard the motor engage. Her frantic footsteps ran from the door. Ken waved to Dana. "Let's go, go!" As soon as they could crouch under the garage door, they escaped. Ken sprinted straight for the front door. He almost collided with the storm door as he tore it open. He pushed down the door handle and, "She locked it," he growled. He tried once more while giving the door a hard shoulder. "Mom, you still there?" he called.
"I am,"
she said, as if delivering bad news. Dana stepped forward. "Mom, we just want to talk about Dad. Can you let us in so we can talk about what we should do together?"
"You won't let me do what I have to,"
Justine replied. Ken said, "How do you know that, Mom? Let us in and talk to us about it." She said,
"I'm not crazy. I know how it all sounds, and now I've gone and made you think I'm suicidal. You'll never leave me alone."
Dana said, "It's fine, Mom. People say stuff when they're worked up. We'll leave you alone after you tell us what your plan is, okay?"
"I don't believe you,"
said Justine. "We promise," Ken replied.
"I don't believe you. I'll never be able to believe you because I know you're so rational, both of you. I'll never convince you to help save your dad."
"Why don't you try?" asked Ken.
"No. I know what I need to do now. I've been thinking about it since you said you saw him, which I know you did whether you believe it or not."
Dana said, "Mom, whatever you've been thinking about, let's talk about it out here." Ken whispered, "I bet there's still a spare key in the egress. I'll be right back." "Hurry," Dana hissed. Ken darted around the side of the house to the egress window. He felt along the edge of the plastic cover until he found the clasp holding it down. He opened the clasp and lifted the cover, already twisting to climb down. But a face in the window made him drop the cover. One voice told him it was another trick shadow, but another asserted without any doubt he'd just seen his father staring up at him. Carefully, he lifted the cover again. "Dad?" Their eyes met. His father's looked distant and unfocused, and Ken couldn't tell whether he was really conscious. He looked ghostlier than in the bathroom mirrors. Here, he appeared transparent and thin. "It's the reflective vinyl," Ken realized. He almost dropped the cover again when Dana screamed his name from the front porch. "Sorry, Dad," Ken said, sliding into the egress. "Can't talk now." He grabbed the fake rock and tossed it into the grass. Then he scurried up and climbed over the edge. He looked back before the cover fell, but did not see his father looking back. Dana had tried to keep Justine talking, but the conversation had turned down a path that scared her.
I've been thinking about what I need to do probably since I called Ken about that beef. I think I secretly wanted it to go this way. I don't know how to save him, so I think I'd like to just be with him.
Mom, no, Dana scolded. Just sit down. We'll be in a minute.
I didn't have the guts to do it myself, but now I feel so cornered. I think I might have...
Mom?
I think I just might...
Mom! Ken charged around the corner, and Dana stepped out of his way. He shoved the key in and twisted, pressing down the handle at the same time. He screamed, "Mom, no!" But he was already too late. At least, by his memory. Dana claims to remember seeing their mother tip herself over the banister. Ken says she was already halfway over when he barged in. But they both share matching scars from watching her fall head first onto the hardwood landing below. They heard multiple splintering cracks and the sharp pop from one of Justine's lenses shattering against her eye. The blood that bubbled from her mouth barely changed the color of her lips. Dana made the call to report their dead parents, one tinted blue, the other painted red, because she recovered from the shock first. She could feel the grief coming, but it hadn't impacted her yet. As she explained to the dispatcher what happened as best she could, a howl from Ken told her he'd arrived at grief first. Hearing that sound from him led grief to her door, and it began to knock. She repeated their childhood home's address to the dispatcher but said she couldn't talk anymore, and hung up before blubbering sobs stole all control of her face and voice. Hours later, after all the police and ambulances had left, Ken and Dana separated into their old rooms. Both said they were going to sleep, but neither did. Ken scanned his bookshelf, which now contained mostly his parents' books, until he found a Calvin and Hobbes collection Martin used to read to him. He lay on his old bed and started reading. It was tough through the tears that frequently clouded his eyes, but the longer he read, the more comforted he felt. Until Dana shrieked. Ken bounded out of his room down the hallway and was about to burst into her room when he realized he should probably knock. "Get in here," Dana squeaked, half angry, half terrified. Ken opened the door. "What?" "Get over here." He went to her bedside. She was sitting upright with both hands placed firmly on top of something on her thigh. "I just wanted to see," she whispered. "See what?" asked Ken. Slowly, Dana lifted her hands. Her right hand contained nothing, but she clutched something tightly in the overturned palm of her left. She handed it toward Ken, and he opened his hands to receive it. It was a small hand mirror with a pink plastic frame. "Look," Dana whispered. Ken raised the mirror to eye level. He only saw himself, though. He pivoted and raised the mirror higher to include Dana in the reflection, but still only saw the two of them. Dana spun a finger around and glanced toward her closet. Ken straightened the mirror, centering himself in it, and slowly began to spin. He saw no one by Dana's closet either. When he had his back to the bedroom's open door, he froze. There was his father, standing in the hallway. "Do you see them?" Dana asked. "Them?" mouthed Ken. He took a wide step to the left. There, standing shoulder to shoulder in the hallway with his father, was his mother, looking as put together as she had the last time he saw her alive. Ken threw the mirror face down on Dana's mattress and she flinched away from it. They both looked into the hallway, and and stared there for a while. Dana finally whispered,
"Want to hear a crazy idea?"
They arranged to have a double funeral 8 days later. In the meantime, Dana flew back to Chicago and Ken worked remotely from the house in Huxley. Dana returned with Nate, but warned Ken not to mention their plan to him. She said she didn't feel like explaining everything that had happened until after the funeral, after it was too late for Nate to oppose what they wanted to do. Not that she thought he would have, but she didn't want to take any chances. She and Ken stood between the caskets during the wake. People came who they hadn't seen in years, and others they'd never met. There were no war buddies or drinking friends, nor were any mentioned. Ken and Dana put together that Justine's story about Martin's new habit was completely made up to put them off track. After the receiving line ended and it was time to close the caskets for good, they were given one final chance to say goodbye. Ken went first and stood close to Dana when it was her turn. He blocked her from the view of anyone else. Into each casket, Dana slipped a hand mirror from the house. One was the pink plastic one from her room, and the other had belonged to her mother. She and Ken had tested both. They snuck them in not because they thought anyone would tell them they couldn't, but because they did not want to give an explanation. They didn't want to hear anyone else's opinion about who or what they saw in the mirrors, or about whether sending their parents to their graves with a mirror each would really give them a way to stay connected as they passed into the next world. Their belief in what they'd seen was enough.